Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to do a nice little range review for the Imperial Titans. And we're talking the big Titans, not the Adeptus Titanicus Titans, no, the gigantic resin beast Titans. This should be quite fun. Admittedly, there isn't a huge number of them. There's only a few, but what they lack in numbers, in variety, they more than make up for in size and indeed price. We're not really going to rank them necessarily this time round, because they are different, they're all unique, they all serve slightly different purposes. Well, I say slightly different purposes. They do technically, when it comes to model-wise, they're all things that are incredibly rare to see due to the cost and, well, the monetary cost and points cost. We're more just going to just take a look, have a chat, just relax a little bit with some massive, chunky resin boys. And of course, you've got to start with the smallest of the Titans, which is the Warhound. And I have to admit, weird though this is going to sound, the Warhound might actually be my favourite. Mostly because it just has a particular... It has a particular charm to it. And I'm not really sure what it is or why it is. It's a Scout Titan, for a start, which by itself is an amazing concept. The idea of a Scout gigantic war machine that towers above literally everything else is brilliant. The fact that also, it being a Scout Titan doesn't stop it from having absolutely devastating weaponry. I mean, it's still a Titan. They might call it a Scout Titan, but it is still a Titan. And as such, I mean, like, look at the size of the Vulcan Mega Bolter. Like, I've got a Vulcan Mega Bolter, the Chaos one, admittedly, which is going to be attached to a Knight, and it's massive. Just the gun alone is huge. The sense of scale, even from a Scout Titan, is ridiculous. It's just gigantic, but it seems lithe, and there's a level of detail to the Warhound that I really like. There are, of course, a lot of kind of open spaces in the form of the carapace. It doesn't have the massive, shoulder guards that say the Warlord has, but overall, it's just a really nicely designed, model. I mean, you can see there. I mean, next to a normal Space Marine, it is ridiculous how big it is. Even next to a Knight, it is massively chunky. It might be the smallest of the Titans, but even the smallest of the Titans is pretty damn big. Now, I have to admit, it might be because I'm a filthy heretic, but I do have a special soft spot for the Chaos version. Those blank spaces that you get on the main one, you don't really get on the Chaos one. As you can see, you've got that massive embossed Chaos star on the top. There's the spikes that are coming out of the like the back of the carapace. I was going to say the shoulders, but it's not really, because the shoulders are where the guns are attached. It looks gnarly, the Chaos one. It looks properly gnarly. You've got these weird kind of deformities to the head. There's like added layers of extra kind of disgusting detail going on with the Chaos one, which I very much appreciate. Of course, you've got all these like dents and bullet holes and shell impacts and bits that seem to have worn away, showing weird cabling, or is it sinew? It's kind of hard to tell. Lots of nice little details. I mean, having looked over the Vulcan Mega Bolter myself, there's a lot of nice little detail all over just that one separate part of the Chaos Warhound. Now, I have to admit, the one that is probably going to be the most controversial out of these in terms of my general opinion on them is this. It's going to be the Reaver, because I don't know how to say this without sounding like a madman. I just don't like the Reaver as much as the Warhound or the Warlord or even the Warbringer, and it's a combination of things. Part of it is the head. The head, for some reason, massively reminds me of that really rubbish War of the Worlds adaptation that... I think it was a film adaptation. I don't think it was BBC. But it was years ago. We're talking like maybe 20, 30 years ago. I don't know. Whereas instead of having tripods, they had like hover ships. So they didn't, like, if you're going to do War of the Worlds, you can't have them not in tripods, for a start. That's terrible. But the design of these weird, like, hover things, it looked dated at the time, and it looks especially terrible now. And for some reason, whenever I see the head of the Reaver, it really makes me think of that. It's a weird design that doesn't seem to really fit anything else. Like, it looks nothing like the Warhound has a kind of a certain look to it that is reminiscent of the name, at least. I don't know, it just looks odd, and I don't know whether it's just me. It probably is just me, in fairness, but it feels slightly the wrong shape. I think it's the cables at the bottom. It's a slightly different shape to the carapace above it, which really shouldn't make any difference at all, but I don't know, it's just something that's never quite sat right with me. It's also, there are aspects of the Reaver that I think suffer because of the Warlord and the Warbringer. The Warhound, it being like smaller, it's smaller than the Reaver. The Warhound being a scout titan and kind of having that more sleek and kind of speedy look to it, relatively speaking, can kind of get away with a bit less detail. The Reaver feels like it has less detail, but only in certain spaces. So, like, the legs feel really cool, they look really good, they look super detailed. The carapace itself, like, just under the missile launcher there, I love all, like, the like, kind of scrollwork stuff that's going on there, and you've got all these kind of small purity seals and stuff on there too. But then, as soon as you get to the guns, for some reason, the guns on the Reaver just don't... I don't know why, but they don't look detailed enough to me. It's like there should be more. There should be more rivets, more cables, more something or other. But I don't even know where I've got that from. It's a really weird thing, where I suddenly one day was sitting there and I thought, the guns look like guns off a toy, but the rest of the model doesn't. But I don't even know why I think they look like that, because if you compare them to, say, like an Imperial Knight, or even, like, again, the Warhound or the Warlord, they don't look bad, but for some reason, maybe it's the paint job, maybe it's everything looks super smooth there, and that's what it is. Maybe the Reaver just looks that little bit more dated for whatever reason. It's really difficult to pin down exactly why, but I just don't love it. Like, I love the Warhound, I love the Warlord, we'll get to the Warbringer. I just don't love the Reaver. I will say the Chaos version does help that a little bit, because it's Chaos and it's got extra spiky bits, and I love the detail with all the teeth and again, it's just that thing of, like, just the extra gubbins that you get on the Chaos version I really, really like for whatever reason. It's because I'm a filthy heretic, that's mostly why it is, but again, you've got all the arrows and the Chaos stars, and you've got the teeth growing out of the carapace and the big gross eye sticking out the top. Again, I'm still not a massive fan of the face, but I will say I like it more with teeth sticking out of it. Same issue with the gun, though. Same issue with the gun. Even that added Chaos Star just isn't doing it for me, and I don't even understand why. I think it is just down to certain weapons. Like, the Power Fist looks great. I love the Power Fist on both the Loyalist and Chaos versions. But maybe it's just that Gatling cannon that is just not quite doing it for me. And I will say the missile launchers always look solid. It just looks great. I don't know. I can't tell you why. That is a weapon I would love to put on something else. I wonder if you could stick that on a Baneblade or something. On a Baneblade chassis. I don't know what it accounts as, but that would be fun. Oh no. Oh dear. Okay. Look, let's move on. Let's move on before that becomes a reality. Okay. The Warbringer. The Warbringer I do like. I would be lying if I said I didn't like it. It is a nice looking Titan. I don't like the helmet. The helmet looks weird. It looks a bit lumpy for some reason. I think it just looks a bit more... I don't know. It just looks a bit ugly to me. I much prefer the style of, like, the Warlord one. But overall, it is a nice looking Titan. You've got a lot of nice little details sort of around the back and where the hips are and the back of like the groin section, if you will. You've got the fun little details of the hatch on the back for access and the little gubbins that are going on around there. You've got the void shield thingies at the top. The gun in the being... Oh, do you mind? The gun being in the centre, for some reason, I both like and don't like. I think I would prefer to see a smaller gun in the centre and a larger gun on one of the arms. But I think that is just purely a personal preference thing. That's all that is. There's nothing wrong with it, and I like the idea of it a lot. I do like the idea of it, where you've got, you know, this massive artillery piece on the back of a massive, giant, stompy robot. It's a fun concept, and it does work. But I also really like the weapons as arms things that, you know, Titans and Knights have got going on. And I kind of really like the idea of having that massive artillery piece as an arm attachment instead. Now, of course, that if we're talking like realism, which there's no point, then that probably wouldn't be a good idea. They might like rip the arm off at the shoulder. But my complete disdain for symmetry and love of stuff like that just pushes me towards that sort of idea. I do like the amount of detail on the armor plating, on the carapace and on the shoulders. It does look properly heavily armoured, which is nice. And the gun is ridiculous. It is mad. It's great, but it is mad. Just sticking a massive artillery cannon on the back of it. I will say I don't like the name. We've got Warhound, and we've got Warlord, and we've got Warbringer, and we've got Reaver. I would have preferred something that was not war based, because it feels like it's getting a bit much with the war. Like maybe something a little bit different would have been nice. Yeah, and all the little added details of like the kind of like sentry guns on the underside, and you've got like spotters and stuff on the actual top of the carapace there for the main artillery cannon, which is ridiculous as a concept. It's great. Yeah, there's a lot to love about the Warbringer. The name, not so much. The face, not so much. But the overall concept is great, and the execution is really, really nice as well. So many nice little touches all over it. But there's only one left now, which is the Warlord. And the Warlord is so good, so chunky, of course. I mean, look at the size of a normal dude next to it. It's ludicrous. It's 1,250 quid with the options on this one. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. But it looks so good. I totally would. If I could afford it, I totally would. It would take me literally forever to do anything with, but, you know, who cares? You'd have one. I think easily the best head, the Warlord. Easily the best head. It looks knightly. It looks honourable. It also looks terrifying because of all the lasers, like all of the lenses behind the visor. Did a slight mix of words there. No lasers. Yeah, this is like ultimate dream model, to be honest. See, I think as well with the guns on this one, there just seems to be a bit more to them. There just seems to be a bit more detail, a bit more, like a bit more attention to detail than on the Reaver, which I think is part of the problem that I have with the Reaver. There's just something about them that just has like, it's like the extra rivets, the extra kind of plating around the outside, all of that stuff. There's just a little bit more going on, which I think is probably one of the reasons why I struggle with the Reaver's weapons as much as I do, the ranged weapons anyway. It's so good. It's so good. I just, there's nothing to complain about. There is nothing to nitpick about the Warlord. It is exactly what it should be. A colossal walking engine of death covered in guns. That's what you want. That is what you want every time from this. It looks so good. I mean, if I was really pressed, if I had to absolutely, you know, rank them, then I'd say probably least favourite is the Reaver. Then I'd probably follow that up with the Chaos Reaver. I think the Chaos Reaver looks just that little bit better to me because I'm just a massive heretic. Then it would be the Warbringer, and then it would be the Loyalist Warhound, then the Chaos Warhound, and they would be tied. So yeah, those are the Imperial and Chaos Titans. We will cover the Xenos Titans in a future video. Don't worry, it's going to happen because there's some fun stuff for the Xenos Titans on Forge World, and I would say, much though Titans are rare, Xenos Titans possibly even rarer. So yeah, we will cover those in another video. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all the things, Patreon video, subscribe, all that stuff. The affiliate link for Element Games, as always, in the description down below. If you buy something through that, it helps me out because I get something for sending you that way. It's way cheaper than buying from Games Workshop. Some of it goes to charity at the end of the month. You know the deal. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to, and I'll see you next time.